It was supposed to be a normal morning at London's Heathrow Airport. Passengers boarded British Airways Flight 762 heading to Oslo, Norway. Some were traveling for work, others to visit family, and a few were just taking a short vacation. The sky was clear, the weather was calm, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The crew gave safety instructions, the engines roared to life, and the plane rolled onto the runway for takeoff. Everything felt completely normal. Just minutes after the plane lifted into the sky, something went terribly wrong. A loud bang came from the left side. Smoke started pouring out, then came the flames. The plane was now on fire, flying above one of the busiest cities in the world. People on the ground saw the burning aircraft and panicked. Inside the cabin, passengers had no idea what just happened. Some stared out of the window in shock, others sat frozen in fear. Some passengers were sending last-minute messages before takeoff, unaware that their phones would soon capture one of the scariest moments of their lives. A few even took pictures out of the window, never thinking those images would later show smoke and flames in the sky. What began as a peaceful morning was about to become a fight for survival. In just moments, this calm, normal flight turned into a dangerous emergency. How did this happen? What caused the fire? And how did the pilots manage to land the plane and save everyone on board? This is a true story of British Airways Flight 762, a flight that nearly ended in disaster. On May 24, 2013, British Airways Flight 762 was scheduled to fly from London Heathrow to Oslo, Norway. The flight was expected to take less than 2 hours. The plane used for the flight was an Airbus A319, a short-range twin-engine aircraft commonly used for trips across Europe. On board were 75 people, including 67 passengers and 6 crew members. At around 8:30 in the morning, the aircraft pushed back from the gate at Terminal 5. The pilots completed their final safety checks. Everything appeared to be working perfectly. The weather was mild, no rain, no wind, no sign of any danger. The plane went to the runway and waited for takeoff clearance. When cleared, the aircraft rolled down runway 27L and lifted into the sky. It was a smooth and steady takeoff. Passengers settled in, expecting nothing more than a quiet flight. But what no one knew was that something had already gone wrong, long before the plane even left the ground. During routine maintenance the night before, technicians had opened the covers, or cowlings, on the engines to perform a basic check. But when they finished, they forgot to close the cowlings. It was a small step, easy to miss, and no one caught the mistake. Just 4 minutes into the flight, the left engine cowling suddenly flew open. In the strong air pressure, it ripped off and slammed into the engine. This damaged fuel lines, causing fuel to leak into hot engine parts. That leak quickly turned into a fire. There was a loud bang. Smoke began pouring from the left engine, then flames. People on the ground watched in horror as the plane trailed thick smoke through the sky. Inside the cabin, the passengers were confused and afraid. Some saw the flames outside their window and gasped. Passengers seated near the left wing had the clearest view. One woman later said she saw black smoke curling backward like a ribbon and knew something was very wrong. But there was no announcement yet. People waited, tense, hoping it was nothing serious, but then the aircraft jolted again, and fear truly set in. The smell of burning fuel reached the cabin. People looked around, unsure of what was happening. Some whispered prayers, others sat in silence, gripping their seats. The flight attendants remained calm, but alert, trying to assess the situation and keep passengers safe. In the cockpit, the pilots saw warning lights flashing. They didn't yet know exactly what had caused the problem, but they knew one engine was failing, and that they had to act fast. The pilots first declared a pan-pan, a signal for urgent issues. But as the fire worsened, they upgraded it to a mayday, alerting air traffic control that this was now a full emergency. The captain flew the aircraft manually while the first officer communicated with controllers and handled emergency checklists. They shut down the burning engine and asked for permission to return immediately to Heathrow. Emergency response teams were alerted. Fire trucks, ambulances, and police moved into position near the runway. Everyone knew a damaged, burning aircraft was coming back, and it could land at any moment. Inside the cabin, the crew gave clear instructions to the passengers: fasten your seatbelt, remain calm, and listen carefully. The tension was heavy. Some passengers cried, others held hands, but despite their fear, most followed instructions without question. The pilots began circling the airport to lose altitude and prepare for landing. With only one working engine and fire damage on the other side, they had to be extremely careful. The goal was to bring the plane down safely before anything else went wrong. After circling once, the plane lined up with the runway. The descent began. Everyone on board knew this was it. Either the plane would land safely or something would go very wrong. One passenger later said the silence on that plane was the loudest sound I've ever heard. Everyone was just waiting to see if they would make it back alive. The flight attendants, even though they were afraid too, stayed calm and followed every procedure perfectly. Their bravery helped others stay calm too. As the wheels touched the ground, passengers held their breath. To everyone's relief, the landing was smooth. The pilot slowed the plane and brought it to a complete stop. There was no time to relax though. The crew immediately ordered an emergency evacuation. Slides were deployed. Passengers rushed out, some barefoot, some clutching their children, some in shock. Fire crews were already at the scene, spraying foam and water to put out the remaining flames. Within minutes, the fire was under control. Amazingly, no one was seriously injured. Every single person survived. Soon after the incident, the Air Accidents Investigation Branch, AAIB, began their investigation. People wanted to know what had caused the fire so early in the flight. Some suspected a bird strike, others thought it was a regular engine failure. But the truth was much simpler and more troubling. The cause was human error. During the previous night's maintenance, the engine cowlings were opened and not properly closed. The latches were missed. The morning walk-around check meant to catch issues like this failed to notice the open cowling. When the plane took off, the unlocked cover flew open, broke off and hit the engine, damaging the fuel system and starting the fire. It was one small mistake, one misstep, but it nearly caused a disaster. The AAIB issued safety recommendations. They reminded airlines that even small oversights can lead to big problems. British Airways responded quickly, retraining staff and improving maintenance checklists. The aviation industry also took the incident seriously. New labels and warnings were added to cowling latches to make them easier to spot. Airlines worldwide reviewed their safety practices. The pilots and crew of Flight 762 were praised for their calm response. They followed their training perfectly. They stayed focused under pressure. Their actions saved lives. Passengers later spoke about the moment they realized how close they had come to disaster. Many said they hadn't noticed the danger until they saw the footage afterward. But all agreed on one thing: the crew's calmness kept everyone together. The flight became a teaching example in aviation schools, showing how human error and fast decisions can change the outcome of a flight. British Airways Flight 762 is remembered not just for the fire in the sky, but for the survival story that followed. It's a reminder that behind every safe flight is a team of people who train, prepare, and act quickly when things go wrong. It's also a lesson that in aviation, every detail matters. One forgotten latch nearly brought down an entire aircraft. One missed check nearly cost dozens of lives. But it also shows us how safety in aviation doesn't just depend on technology, it depends on people. People who train, who care, who act fast under pressure. Flight 762 could have ended in disaster, but it became a story of survival because every person did their part. For the passengers, it was a terrifying experience they'll never forget. For the aviation industry, it was a wake-up call. And for the rest of us, it's a quiet reminder that even the smallest detail can make the biggest difference. In the sky, nothing is truly ever routine, and that's why every second, every check matters.